Thank you, everybody, for joining us back here at Soligenix's channel. We have a very special guest for you guys today as we sit here with Michael W. Young, principal and founder of BioMedWorks Life Science Consultants. Michael is a former head of marketing for a couple of biotech companies in the oncology and hematology areas, as well as having held vice president roles in 2 global contract research organizations. He's also gained deep experience in digital health and new product launches, having led or directed the launch of over 21 different pharmaceutical products in the US and globally. And add on to this, he's also a passionate patient advocate, serving on the board of directors of the Cutaneous Lymphoma Foundation since its inception. And Mike, you and I have had a lot of conversations. Always like chatting with you. It's kind of a Michael squared situation. We've kicked off, we've had a good time. But for those not quite aware, lay us out a little bit. Tell us your relationship to Soligenix and what we're here to talk about today.
Sure. So, Michael, thanks so much for having me on the program today. I appreciate the time to get to share a little bit of insights here. I am very fortunate to serve as a principal commercial consultant to the Soligenix organization. I have been doing that for the last couple of years and serve as a subject matter expert in this arena of cutaneous lymphoma. We're moving things along.
Wonderful. Yeah, we've had a lot of great guests here on Soligenix's channel to talk about different aspects of it, and I'm very glad to get you on. And as an experienced professional in clinical development and commercialization of oncology products, like, what do you see as the unmet needs with cutaneous lymphomas?
Well, it's interesting. Cutaneous lymphomas are a bit of a Rosetta Stone for all lymphomas. Learning things about a lymphoma, if you will, or a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma on which the patients actually wear on their skin is an area that has been evolving over the last decade or so. Back in the late 90s, the reality was there had not been anything new for the treatment of this disease in over 12 to 15 years. So since that time, things have accelerated. There are quite a few agents that have been developed for the treatment of cutaneous lymphoma. However, the majority of those agents have been focused on the more devastating aspects of this disease in late stage treatment, where typically the tumors or the skin involvement becomes quite involved, and these patients often require an oncolytic approach, one in which they might be receiving infusion medications. The reality is, the unmet need in cutaneous lymphoma is really more so around the early stage patients. Mm-hmm. This is where the majority of the patients are, as you can imagine, a funnel where it isn't that many patients that actually end up progressing to the advanced stages, even though the disease is very devastating at that point. In the earlier stages, many of these patients are going through a complex series of diagnostic procedures, trying to determine exactly what's going on with them, getting them appropriately staged. And the reality is that this is where the majority of the patients need symptomatic relief, and they need an approach that is simple and safe for them to address the early stages, in which patients typically have patches or plaques, areas of rash, etc., that can be both quite bothersome to them. And as they get their diagnosis of this skin condition actually being a form of cancer, many of these patients have lots of concerns about traditional chemotherapy. They don't need that. What they need is an effective skin-directed approach to treating this.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And while it is good that, with the techniques and the things we've been doing for these people has been improving, it does sound like, as you said, there's still a lot of unmet need, especially in the earlier people. So could you kind of walk us through a patient journey, so to speak, for someone who has early stage or previously undiagnosed people with cutaneous lymphoma?
So I think it's important to recognize that CTCL is a unique disease. It's been described by one of the foremost clinicians in the field, Dr. Madeline Duvik at the MD Anderson Cancer Clinic, as a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma that patients wear on the outside of their skin. Patients go through a long period of questioning and trying to figure out exactly what they've got. Typically, it takes 3 to 5 years to correctly diagnose because CTCL tends to masquerade as many other types of rashes or red patches, like psoriasis. That means that after years of trial and error, patients are often exposed to a number of different topical medications, including steroids, which are powerful agents which can thin and dry out the skin, and they often create more opportunities for secondary bacterial infections. Most often in this patient journey, it's a medical dermatologist who accurately diagnoses the condition, and frequently only after a skin biopsy. There are some 250 CTCL centers of excellence in the United States, and this is where about 1,200 to 1,500 new CTCL patients are diagnosed each year. That's really a rare disease, therefore, and because most of the patients are diagnosed in early stages, and they tend to have this disease for the rest of their lives, there are over 40,000 Americans living with CTCL, and most of them will ultimately die of something related to their disease, but not directly from CTCL. As I mentioned, most patients are accurately diagnosed at a center of excellence and would be treated there, but in early stages, many will return to their community dermatologist for follow-up and treatment, or they'll try to seek to do as much skin-directed treatment at home as possible.
Yeah, it makes sense. And kind of turning to what you're talking about there, which are the treatments. Throughout time, anything related to anything, especially mentioned the big C word, cancer, we often accept that it's a double-edged sword, as in there's a lot of like significant side effects coming along with it that we just kind of had to accept it to this point. So like what kind of side effects are we talking about there? And are there treatments that can like reduce the likelihood of these side effects?
So Michael, as you would imagine, the more advanced disease is treated with more aggressive types of treatment. They're typically systemic treatments, which are either taken orally or they need to be injected or infused. This would progress until some patients are receiving more traditional chemotherapy with many side effects, including certain blood dyscrasias like changes in platelet counts. They may impact, these treatments may impact other organ systems. They may create hair loss, etc. But these take place only in the more advanced and debilitated patients. It's really the early stage patients who have portions of their skin affected by patches or plaque who really need the new, safe, and effective agents that are coming along. Current FDA-approved therapies and some common unapproved treatments, such as corticosteroids in CTCL, have their own concerning side effects when used for prolonged periods. In addition, even some of these skin-directed therapies can expose patients to other skin complications by thinning and drying their epidermis. The likelihood of squamous cell and basal cell carcinomas can be increased, and then some light therapies such as PUVA and UVA have been associated with skin irritations and burns. So in addition, many skin-directed therapies don't offer treatment value and safety in managing both patches, plaques, and rashes. The plaques are the thickened, raised lesions often associated with earlier stage CTCL. So having that capability would be a significant advantage for a skin-directed therapy.
It makes sense. Yeah, you're trying to establish a positive quality of life for this person to where on the day-to-day they're
Exactly.
not dealing with so many side effects. And with that, can we turn our conversation a little bit? So are there any particular advantages that you see with Soligenix's product, HyBryte Hypericin Topical, that would make this a useful therapy in the management of cutaneous lymphoma?
Yeah, so Soligenix has been very thoughtful about the approach here. This product, HyBryte, is actually a phototherapy. So the active drug is actually applied to the affected areas on the skin, and then a very safe and simply supplied source of light, which is a fluorescent light of particular wavelength, is shined on this treated area, and it activates the hypericin and actually creates what are now established efficacy and safety numbers. So Soligenix has gone forward and completed their phase 3 trial and have successfully, at this point, submitted the product in an NDA to the FDA, and they are currently awaiting acceptance to file.
Perfect. And in that same vein, like what have dermatologists said so far about their experience with HyBryte in the clinical trials?
Well, I think the company has been very, very pleased with the response from the key opinion leaders who know this field, do extensive work in cutaneous lymphoma, and they really highlighted 3 aspects to HyBryte that are very, very attractive. One is the simple application. This can be patient applied, and certainly the treatment is non-invasive, simply taking place 2 to 3 times a week, and showing, shining the light on no pun intended, but shining the light on the affected areas, and an opportunity to make over the course of 12 to 16 weeks, an efficacy rate that's been reported in excess of 40 some percent.
Wow.
The second thing that has been noted by dermatologists overall is the absolute safety of this. There have been rare, if any, reports of any complications with the therapy overall. And so, while all of this is undergoing FDA evaluation at this time, one of the things that's been fed back from a number of key opinion leaders in the dermatology field is the fact that they're really looking forward to having a therapy which can be patient applied and treated without real significant concerns about safety at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And the third thing I think that is of great interest to dermatologists is the fact that this will help simplify and give them something in their armamentarium to really deal with early stage treatment. So beyond, the limited effects of an unapproved therapy being steroid treatment, they'll actually have something that's been approved for early stage treatment, and that's been proven effective and safe.
Yeah, it really sounds like HyBryte's a promising treatment here, and I look forward to learning more about it. But Mike, listen, thank you so much for coming on today. You were a wonderful guest. Thank you for sharing your insight. If anyone has any questions, of course, don't be afraid to send them over to us. But Michael, again, thank you. Please have a wonderful day, sir.
Thank you, sir.